many, many decades of people debating this, you might have figured out the reason why we dream.
Yes, and it's a simple answer. So if you go blind, the visual cortex in the back of the brain gets taken over by hearing and by touch and by other things. In fact, our colleagues at Harvard did an experiment where they blindfolded normally sighted people, and you could start seeing that takeover happening after 60 minutes. And that's when we realized, wow, the purpose of dreaming is to defend the visual territory from takeover from the other senses. But what fascinates me about brain plasticity, and what I've devoted my career to, is figuring out the way that we can be the sculptors of our own brains, and how it gives us an opportunity to become the kind of person we'd like to be.
And can we do that?
Yes. Here's the thing. Your brain peaked at the age of 2. Okay, so at the beginning, you've got fluid intelligence, meaning you could learn anything. But now that you have grown up in this world, you've got crystallized intelligence, meaning you know how to drive a car, you know how to operate a cell phone, you know how to run a business, and so your brain doesn't require as much change, which means that the structure of the brain is always degenerating.
So what are the set of actions that will fundamentally change my brain and make me that type of person who's motivated and disciplined and who has high agency and attacks the world?
So this is something I've studied in my lab for decades now, and the key is that...
And what about AI and the social media debate as it relates to brain development?
Well, I happen to be a cyber optimist for young people. I think it's going to make them much smarter than the generation that came before, and here's why.
Interesting. This is super interesting to me. My team give me this report to show me how many of you that watch this show subscribe, and some of you have told us, according to this, that you are unsubscribed from the channel randomly. So, favour to ask all of you, please could you check right now if you've hit the subscribe button, if you are a regular viewer of the show and you like what we do here. We're approaching quite a significant landmark on this show in terms of a subscriber number. So if there was one simple, free thing that you could do to help us, my team, everyone here, to keep this show free, to keep it improving year over year and week over week, it is just to hit that subscribe button and to double check if you've hit it. Only thing I'll ever ask of you. Do we have a deal? If you do it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make sure every single week, every single month, as we fight harder and harder and harder and harder to bring you the guests and conversations that you want to hear. I've stayed true to that promise since the very beginning of the Diary of a CEO, and I will not let you down. Please help us. Really appreciate it.
I've noticed profound differences from taking things that increase nitric oxide, but I've never been able to block ET1 before. We have something in our body that the endothelial cells produce, which is a vasoconstrictor, and that's called ET1. In addition to increasing the nitric oxide, we reduce the bad stuff, which is the ET1, and we showed in vitro the ability to reduce ET1 by 50%. Now you're going to have a young person's level of nitric oxide. It's a great product.
Today, I'm going to tell you a story which may seem very strange.
Galileo, Kepler, Newton.
Each tried to explain events in the history of the universe.
Has the universe always been here? Or is it finite?
Is there something else that would lay these questions to rest?
It reopens that question of ultimate meaning.
How in the world did this start?
The simulation theory?
The multiverse. You can't trust what's in front of your eyes.
Come on, that's ridiculous. That belongs in the movies.
We want to take our metaphysical hypotheses and see what they point to.
And I can remember him saying,
Here is evidence for what can only be described as a supernatural event.
he himself made a discovery that shook his personal philosophy.
The fact the universe sprang into being at a definite moment seems to me theological.
And it is science that has revealed this.
We're dealing with a system of manifold, complex design.
Force compared with the weak nuclear force.
1 part in 10 to the 10,000. 1 part in 10 to the 20.
Turned out to be the tip of the iceberg.
We associate information with a rational intelligence behind it.
It had an uncanny resemblance to a digital bit stream, very much like an information carrier. You can read the same segment forward to get one protein and backwards to get another.
It struck us with a tremendous impact.
Without guidance, we would get a life-unfriendly universe. Many organisms have beauty beyond anything that's relevant for their survival value.
The concept of life as a cosmic phenomenon should have many consequences. The question then was, what does one do about it?
Dr. David Eagleman, what made you so fascinated about the brain, and why should everybody listening be fascinated about the brain as well?
Here's what I think it is. When I was 8 years old, I fell off of the roof of the house that was under construction, and I fell 12 feet and broke my nose on the floor below. But the whole thing seemed to take a long time. I did the calculation and figured out that it only took 0.6 of a second to get from the top to the bottom. And I couldn't figure out why it seemed to have taken so long. So I think that got me really interested in perception and the machinery by which we view the world and take it in, and what is actually real versus what's a construction of the brain. And that's what I've devoted my career to, is figuring out how the brain, which is locked inside the skull, it's about 3 pounds, how it constructs this model of the world, and which things we can take as reality and which things we shouldn't.
I think most people don't even know there's a brain there, almost. It sounds like a strange thing to say, but we've never really, most of us haven't really seen our own brains at all. We've never been able to touch our own brains at all, so it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everything I experience is true and is reality. So I'm wondering how a deeper understanding of all this stuff can help me live a better life.
Yeah. One of the things that I started writing about years ago is that I think we often think of ourselves as individuals, meaning not divisible into other things, but really you are a team of rivals. You've got all these neural networks that have different drives, making different suggestions to you.
What's a neural network?
So in the brain, you've got 86 billion cells called neurons, and these are communicating with each other at a blindingly fast rate. Many of these cells are hooked up in networks, so they're, this guy's talking to this guy, and they're all in particular networks. The thing is, you can actually get competing networks. So for example, Stephen, if I drop some chocolate chip cookies in front of you, part of your brain wants to eat it. It's a good energy source. Part of your brain says, don't eat it, I'll gain weight. Part of you says, okay, I'll eat one, but I'll go to the gym tonight. The point is, you are arguing with yourself. You are conflicted. This is what makes humans so interesting, is that we have all these voices trying to drive us to different conclusions about our behavior. So the way that your ship of state moves depends on the vote of the neural parliament at any time. So understanding this, I think, is really critical to navigating our own lives, because all of us do things where retrospectively we regret it. We say, I shouldn't have eaten that whole bag of chips, or done the alcohol or the drugs or whatever. Like, everybody has regrets all the time with things, and it's because you have different voices in charge at different times. Okay. Part of what this leads to is what we call the Ulysses contract. So a Ulysses contract is where you do something now to prevent yourself from behaving badly in the near future. Just as an example, when people go to Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing they're told is clear all the alcohol out of the house. Because even if you feel like, look, I'm in a moment of sober reflection, I don't want to ever drink again, if you have alcohol in the house, you're going to bust into that cabinet at some point on a festive Saturday night or a lonely Sunday night or whatever. So what you do is you constrain your future behavior by setting things up in the right way, so the future you can't behave badly. We naively think, okay, well, I know who I am, I'm just one person, but you're not. And under different circumstances, you're tempted by different things and you'll do different kinds of behavior. So having a sense of what's going on under the hood gives us an opportunity to be more closely aligned with the kind of person we would like to be.
Because it feels like there's just one, well, I do argue with myself in my head sometimes, but it feels like there is just one me.
Yeah.
And so when I hear that voice say, Steve, you should have that cookie and it's 1 a.m. and then the other voice says, no, you shouldn't, I think it's kind of the same person just tussling with himself.
Right. Well, but that tussling with himself implies different political parties that are all battling it out. When you look at a parliament, you've got all these political parties that all love their country. They just have different ideas of how to steer it. And this is what's going on in the brain all the time.
So what does one do about that? How do I make, do I have to make a Ulysses contract?
I think it's very useful to make that sort of thing, but also just understanding what's, part of the, there was this Greek admonition to know thyself. This was the sign they had in various places, various temples and stuff. But I think that becomes know thyself. And the better we know ourselves, the more we can get rid of the illusion that we are one person, because all any of us need to do is look back on our behavior to say, oh yeah, in some circumstances I would do that, other circumstances I think it's a terrible idea. So this is all to the goal of understanding who you are.
What are the big misconceptions about the brain that people have gone through their life believing? I mean, that's one of them. Something that is true that kind of could fall in place of that is just this fundamental idea that our brains are plastic or sort of adaptable. Because when I found out that I could change my brain by what I do, I found that to be really, really inspiring.
Yes, that's exactly right. So brain plasticity, if someone hasn't heard that term before, it sounds like a weird term, but the reason it came about 100 years ago is because the great psychologist William James pointed out that, if you take a piece of plastic, what we like about that material that we call plastic is that you can mold it into a shape and it'll hold that shape. And that's what your brain does. So if I ask you the name of your third grade teacher, you can remember that name, even though it's been a long time, because your neural networks changed and held on to that piece of information. Okay, well, our whole lives, our brains are changing every moment. So now we have certain doors that close at different times. So just as an example, you need to learn language in the first several years of your life. If you don't learn language, you can never get the concept of language. Your brain will never figure that out.
You're not saying you can't learn a new language as an adult. You're saying the concept of
language, the concept that I can name things and I can ask for things and so on, just that never clicks in the brain. For example, in Romania at the fall of Ceausescu, there were tens of thousands of kids in the orphanages because their parents had been killed. It was too many kids, and so the staff there said, look, the kids will get, clingy if you pay too much attention to them, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to feed the kids, but we're not going to hold them, we're not going to talk to them. And all these children grew up with real cognitive deficits as a result. Here's the thing about brain plasticity. Human beings have a similar brain to all our neighbors in the animal kingdom. If you compare our brain to a horse brain, a dog brain, anything like that, it's the same general structures and stuff. But what we have is much more of the wrinkly outer bit called the cortex. It's the outer 3 millimeters. And maybe we'll come back to why that matters so much. But the other thing that Mother Nature tweaked with us, it's small genetic tweaks, but we have much more plasticity, adaptability, such that when a horse drops into the world, it's doing the same thing that horses did 100,000 years ago. It's just, eat, mate. But when a human drops in the world, we learn everything that's happened before us, and then we springboard off the top of that. So we, living in the 21st century, we say, oh, great, physics, math, this, that, art, great. We got everything that's happened before us. Now let's do our own thing. And that's what's so special about the plasticity of the human brain, the adaptability of it. The downside, the gamble, is that Mother Nature drops human brains into the world kind of half-baked, and we then get to absorb everything. But in the rare circumstance where you're not getting the right input, then that ends up really in trouble because it's only half-baked. So when it comes to language, we can learn multiple languages when we're young. That's very easy, but it gets harder and harder as that goes along. And various other things become harder, and here's why. It's because I mentioned this earlier, but the job of the brain is to make a model of the world so it can operate within it. So, for example, you're an entrepreneur and you love doing business, so you get it. Here's how here's how you structure business. Here's how you hire well. Here's how you set up a board well. You're doing everything because you've got a really rich internal model of how to structure a business. That's what the brain wants to do, is get that stuff right. As a result, if you suddenly ended up, taking a trip to Mars, and there's a whole very different society there that does businesses very differently, you would have to relearn stuff really quickly. So here's the thing. You went from having a brain that had high fluid intelligence to now having a brain that has high crystallized intelligence. What that means is at the beginning, you can learn anything. You could learn any language. You could have dropped into any era. You could have dropped into 13th century Japan.
When I was young.
When you were young, when you were a baby, if you had dropped out of the womb in, 10th century Mongolia, you would have said okay, cool, learn language. You would be a 10th century Mongolian. But as it happens, you dropped into this era, a certain place and time and neighborhood and culture and family, and so you learn that. That's who you become, is that person. We often think that plasticity diminishes as you age, but it's not simply that it's diminishing, it's that you are getting the right answers about how to operate in the world. And so you don't have to change as much. Your brain doesn't require as much change.
What if I want to change?
Yes, so it turns out you still can change. That's the key, is that the reason brains change less and less is because they don't have to, but when things get upside down, just as one example, everything about the pandemic really stunk. Except for one thing. I think the tiny silver lining is that all of us had to reassess, oh my gosh, wait, how's the world working? I thought I knew how the world worked, but now I don't know if there's going to be toilet paper at the store. I don't know if the bank's going to be open. I don't know if I can get coffee at the coffee shop. Like, everything was different. As awful as it was, it's really useful to challenge your internal model of the world and get to do that as an adult. We don't usually get to.
So if I want to change, what would you recommend that I do? If I want to change who I am, say I'm stubborn, I'm not motivated, and I want to be a different person.
The key is challenge. The key is seeking challenge. So it turns out that where we always want to be is in between the levels of frustrating but achievable. And you want to take on new tasks. You want to seek novelty to find yourself in that zone.
Amazon offers hourly employees health care for $5 a week with $5 copays.
Too soft, too strong. There, perfectly balanced.
And push yourself to do things that you just haven't done before. And one of the things that's so wonderful about the modern world, everyone's got complaints about the internet and social media and stuff like that, but the good news is it exposes you to so much more than you ever even knew was out there. The key is to actively seek those challenges and seek new things and seek to become expert in various sorts of fields. And I think the key is that once you become good at something, you have to drop that and take on something you're not good at. This is the best thing you can do for your brain. The reason is because what you're doing is you're constantly building new roadways and pathways in the brain. There's a study that's been going on for decades now called the Religious Orders Study, where a bunch of Catholic nuns agreed to donate their brains for autopsy when they passed away. What the researchers discovered when they look at the brain carefully is that some fraction of these nuns had Alzheimer's disease. Their brains were physically degenerating with the ravages of this dementia. But they didn't show any of the cognitive deficits that one normally has. They didn't seem to be having memory problems and so on. It turns out it's because all these nuns lived in these convents till the day they died. They had social challenges, and they had fights with their fellow sisters, and they played games with their fellow sisters, and they had chores and responsibilities, and they were doing stuff. What that means is, even as the brain tissue was physically degenerating, they were making new roadways and bridges all the time. And so that's what kept them cognitively healthy. We call that cognitive reserve. Contrast this with people who retire at 65 and they go home and they watch television and their social circles shrink and so on. That's when you've really got concerns, because you're not building the new pathways.
Is there data to support that when you retire, if you retire early, or if you retire, say, in your 60s, it increases?
As Americans, we're fair and logical. 83% of us favor requiring a photo.
The nuclear deal was so bad it gave a road to a nuclear weapon, and I will tell you the deal with them. You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. This is all about a nuclear weapon. They cannot have the nuclear bomb, and they're not going to have the nuclear bomb. So we've taken out their military. We've hit about 75% of our targets. We stopped a little early because they wanted to have some peace. And we have a blockade that's 100% effective. And they're getting no business, and as you know, they're not doing well economically, financially. They're not doing any business because of the blockade. They want to make a deal. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. So we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved. But, I hope the fake news, people like you, I hope the fake news are going to be able to write about it accurately, because when you say, oh, they're fighting very well, they're not fighting well. They've been obliterated, Jeff, obliterated. 159 ships are in the Navy. You know how many ships are at the bottom of the sea, Jeff? 159. So, you know, and if you read the New York Times, the failing New York Times, subscriptions are way down, as you know. That's because people don't believe the stuff anymore. If you watch CNN, you'd think that they're doing well in the war. They're not doing well. They're getting absolutely decimated. Now, with all of that being said, we'll see what happens. You have a lot of, we have no pressure. It's only guys like you with a question like that about what's your time? We've been doing it for 5.5 weeks.
But sir, it's your weeks that the U.S. now has been involved with Iran. You had initially said it would be 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, I hope that, but I also took a little break. I gave them a break, and remember this, I want to make the best deal. I could make a deal right now. Do you know that if I left right now, we had a tremendous success. It would take them 20 years to rebuild, but I don't want to do that. I want to have it everlasting. I want to have it where they never have a chance to get it. I mean, the way you asked that question, yeah, I did say it. I thought it would take 4 to 6 weeks, and I was right. Because at the end of 6 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, their military was decimated. But now what I'm doing, I can't tell you that. I don't want to put that kind of a timetable on it, but it'll go pretty quickly. And we'll have the strait opened up. Now, right now, we have it closed. We have total control of the strait. And the fact that it's closed, you know, they would have opened it up 3 days ago. They came to us and they said, we will agree to open the strait. And all my people were happy. Everybody was happy except me. I said, wait a minute, if we open the strait, that means they're going to make $500 million a day. I don't want them to make $500 million a day until they settle this thing. So I'm the one that kept it closed. We have total control of it. And it'll open when they make a deal or something else happens that's very positive.
Well, what do you say to the American people who question how much longer this will take? Obviously,
You're such a disgrace. Did you hear what I just said? Vietnam. How many years was Vietnam?
I understand, sir.
How many years was Vietnam? Well, I did I took the country out militarily in the first 4 weeks. I took it out militarily. Now what we're doing is sitting back and seeing what deal. And if they don't want to make a deal, then I'll finish it up militarily with the other 25% of the targets. We've hit 78% of the targets that we wanted to hit. We've knocked out their manufacturing. We've knocked out their missile production. We've knocked out their drone production. We've knocked out everything. In some cases, when I say knocked it out, 70, 80, 90%. It's amazing what we've done. So I've done that within that period of time that I mentioned, but I don't want to rush myself, you know, because every source says, oh, Trump is under time pressure. I'm not, no. You know who's under time pressure? They are. Because if they don't get their oil moving, their whole oil infrastructure is going to explode. You know what that means? Because they have no place to store it. And because they have no place to store it, if they have to stop it, something happens that only Len can explain. Something happens underground that essentially renders it in very poor shape, and you never recover fully. You can recover 50, 60%, but you can never have it like it is right now. And they have a matter of days before that event takes place. So I'm not under any pressure whatsoever. We've never had so much ammunition. Our ships are loaded. I call them locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to go. We have much higher quality equipment than we did when we first started the war. And or the military operation, whatever you want to call it. And they're coming to us. The problem they have is they are very disorganized right now. Well, now yesterday, and I was very pleased with this, 8 young women were going to be executed yesterday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And I asked them, call it a favor or call it just a moral request that they not be executed, and they came back with an answer that they won't be executed. They're going to release who was protesting. 8 beautiful young women, very young women, and they were...
For 24 hours straight, 24 chefs compete against the clock and each other for 24 time-tested challenges. Who will have the creativity, skills?
More time. I'm not asking them. No.
But if you need more time,
I'm not asking anybody for more time.
If you need more time, does that mean Americans should anticipate spending more on gasoline for the foreseeable future?
For a little while. And you know what they get for that? You know what they get for that? Iran without a nuclear weapon that's going to try and blow up one of our cities or blow up the entire Middle East. You want to see what shock would be? And I have to be honest, the stock market is at an all-time high right now. I thought it would have been down 20-25%.
You want to bring prices down?
Wait, can I finish my question? Wise guy. Stock market's at an all-time high right now. I projected, and I'm pretty good at this, that the stock market, Howard, would drop maybe 20%, 25%, and I understood that, and I said, hey, it's a bad thing, but I have to do what's right for the country, even the world, because you can't have them, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. So, the stock market, unlike what a lot of people were predicting, I thought they weren't necessarily wrong. And the stock market today hit an all-time high. Hit an all-time high yesterday, the day before, and it's staying there. I thought oil would go up to maybe $200 a barrel, and oil is a different number than anyone thought. In fact, this country is much slower because we have all the oil we can use. We're actually, ships are coming from all over the world to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska. They're coming from all over the world to get oil from the United States, while this is closed, the Hormuz Strait. So, if you look at what I said, I guess it was right, because they said I'd have it 4 to 6 weeks, and in 4 weeks we have totally defeated their military. So right now, I don't want to rush it because you guys are, trying to make us look as bad as possible. I don't want to rush it. I want to take my time. We have plenty of time, and I want to get a great deal. I want to get a deal where our nation and the world is safe from lunatics with nuclear weapons. Yes.
If it does go to 200, are you okay with that, sir?
I think that there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that takes out one of your cities or 2 of your cities or 3. I think there's nothing worse than a nuclear weapon that's going to destroy the Middle East, including Israel. I think there's nothing worse than Europe being under attack by people that have missiles now that reach Europe. As you know, they don't reach us, but they reach Europe. But they will reach us at some time, probably the not too distant future, unless we stop them now. I think there would be nothing worse than having nuclear holocaust in Europe, London, Paris, various places in Germany, all targeted. Now, what I say is you can't let them have. I don't think it will happen, by the way. I really think we actually, it turns out that we are drill baby drill, and it turns out we're producing a lot of oil, and they're buying the oil. They're going to Alaska, they're going to Texas, Louisiana, and our guys have done a fantastic job. We're putting out right now more oil and gas than we ever have in the history of our country. And one other thing, there are more people employed today in the United States than ever in the history of our country.
Mr. President, I have a question, sir. Is it true that your administration is considering sending 1,100 Afghans to the Democratic Republic of Congo? And if so, do you have a response to that?
I don't know. I have to check that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Breitbart uses Matt Boyle that published an interview with Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, in which the Prime Minister said that he's rooting for you to succeed in getting a deal with Iran. He also said he looks forward to hosting you in Greece later this year. Do you have any response?
No, it's really nice. I mean, Greece has been very supportive, actually. Greece has been terrific. He's a terrific guy because he understands the importance of it. Oil goes up a little bit. I hate it. I was the one that had it down to $60 a barrel. And I looked at guys like Howard Lutnick. Howard, you remember it well. I said, well, we just hit an all-time high in the history of the market. Think of this. When we hit 50,000, I was told, everybody was told, when I won the election, November 5th, they said, well, during the 4-year period, it'll be impossible for the Dow to ever reach 50,000. It'll be impossible for the S&P to ever hit 7,000. Impossible. And you remember that, Howard, right? It was going to hit maybe 6, 7 years, 8 years, but I did it in my first year. Hit 50,000. Now it's just about at 50,000, and S&P is higher than it was when we started. And S&P hit over 7,000, and that was before the year ended up 1 year. So I can only tell you this: it'll end. I don't think it'll be very long, by the way. They're delaying it because we don't know who to deal with. They are in. They know who the leader is in this country. We don't know who the leader is in Iran. Because remember, regime change. Khomeini is gone. He's gone to greener pastures. He's gone, and all of his team is gone. Then a second group came in. They're all gone. And now you have the third group, and they're a little concerned about being gone too.
So would you use a nuclear weapon against Iran? You posted on
No.
Truth Social a few weeks ago.
We don't need
That's
it.
not
Why do
what
I need it? Why would a stupid question like that be asked?
Do you
Why would I
personally-
use a nuclear weapon when we've totally, in a very conventional way, decimated them without it? No, I wouldn't use it. A nuclear weapon should never be allowed to be used by anybody.
So for all of our us looking forward to, Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing?
It's in
How's his
Ukraine.
wife? Please give her my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you
Great
invite them
advice.
to the dinner, to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I'll tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be full. I wish we had more seats. You know, they've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. Now they're getting the best in the world. We're going to have the best in the world. But, you know, we have a room that's not big enough to handle what would be a big crowd. But we're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration. Okay.
Sir, what do you hope to learn from the UPR's investigation into the defense reservation?
Say it again.
What do you hope to learn from the Jimmy Bureau's investigation into the Federal Reserve Reservation that you did not learn when you visited the site yourself?
Well, look, you know, the Federal Reserve building is a small building. They're going to be in there by the time it opens, in my opinion, for $4 billion. I built a hotel down the road for $201 million that I believe is bigger than the Federal Reserve building. $201 million. And the ballroom, I'm going to have the ballroom from $300 to $400 million, depending on finishes, like marbles, the quality, and the quality finishes will go top of the line. But that's a much bigger project. When you look at the fact that they've taken this beautiful building and destroyed it, they've taken down the beautiful ceilings with eagles, they've taken down the walls that are a foot and a half thick, masonry. You couldn't hear from office to office. They ripped it all down. They ripped down, because Kevin Warsh, who's terrific, said, gee, the saddest thing is they ripped down the nicest building in Washington for boardrooms and all. Did you know about that building? They ripped it down. The boardroom building, it was beautiful, and they ripped it down. And probably because it cost so much to fix it. So I would have done that job for $25 million, had money left over. It's going to cost more than, in my opinion, it's not going to open for a long time. You know, Kevin may not be able to have an office. I'm going to have to get him an office. Can you give him an office?
Yes, space.
Bobby, do you have some space over there, please? But it's more than you think. But we're going to have Kevin sitting right next to you, Bobby. But it may not open for a long time. I looked at it the other day. It's a see-through. See-through, you know, that means the walls aren't even up yet. This is after years and years of construction. And somehow, you have to find out what went wrong. That a small building, I could have done it for $25 million that had money left over. It would have been beautiful. That a small building can cost $4 billion. It may never open. It may never open. And we have to get to that. On top of that, he's been terrible on interest rates because he should have lowered interest rates. That's why I call him Jerome Too Late. Too Late is his nickname. Jerome Too Late, pal. He likes me a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
guys. Well, it came from Italy. It was carved in Italy. It came from another location. You know where the location is? Africa.
An African and Italian bread website.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Keep moving. Thank you. Keep going. Thank you guys.
You got an agenda. Yeah, I do. I got a big agenda. I want you to know Jesus. That's my agenda. And I'm not going to apologize for it, because Jesus wants you to know him too.
I would much rather confuse this world and not make any sense to it than be a reflection of it. So as long as I remain obedient to God, the opinions of this world mean nothing to me.
Whether you're backing up your home, exploring the outdoors, or powering the job site, Harbor Freight has the portable generators you need. From traditional gas generators to open frame and super quiet inverters to multi-fuel options and more. Portable power engineered to last at prices that can't be beat. Whatever you need, we've got it. Whatever you do it for less. Harbor Freight, your generator destination.
Whether you're on PCS, TDY, or relaxing on leave, we take care of you with comfortable and affordable accommodations worldwide. And we keep you supplied with essentials and services you'll appreciate while out to sea. We're committed to helping the military community around the world, with 100% of our earnings given to Navy quality of life programs. The next is more than just a store. Since 1946, we've served the world's finest Navy. And our mission remains you.
Okay, then I'll take this side.
I'll be on the water for a good time. Looking back at you till you're out of sight. Baby, this is war, this ain't no game. But this the life I chose, I won't run away. Oh, so I'm picking up my sorrow, and I'm praying for tomorrow. But if this is my last chance, just hold my hand, hold my hand, hold my hand. 'Cause baby, I'm in love till my last road. All the oceans put together couldn't hold me. You can shed a tear, baby, just hold me down if I have to drink away. Baby, I'm in love till my eyes roll back. All the oceans put together couldn't hold me back. You can shed a tear, baby, it's okay. Just hold me down if I have to drink away. Now this ain't easy, now you in the slightest. Needing you is needing me in every way. But I'm doing this for you, can't you see it? And I can't do this without you, baby, believe it. Now I'm picking up my sorrow, and I'm praying for tomorrow. But if this is our last day,
Military music at Navy Band Great Lakes has a long, rich history. The first musician, a bugler, arrived in 1908 at the then new Naval Training Center, and the band was officially established in 1911 when the first recruits arrived for training. During World War I, the illustrious John Philip Sousa led the band as he trained more than 1,500 musicians for the Navy. Today, we're carrying a noble tradition in the spirit of their motto, Thrive in Service. With a wide range of performance ensembles, this talented group of professional military musicians appear in hundreds of parade, concert, school, public, and recruiting performances throughout its 9-state area each year as the Navy's ambassador to the Midwest. The Commander, Naval Service Training Command, where I'm a Mac Officer, is proud to present the men and women of Navy Band Great Lakes. To honor those who have served, Navy Band Great Lakes will conclude today's concert with a performance of the Armed Forces Medley. As your service song is played, please stand to recognize your service or your family's service to our country. United States Army!
Liam, can you hear me?
Don't stay right there. Don't move. Hey guys, we are here at the mall where we are told right now there are 6 victims that have been transported to the hospital.
6 victims.
They're still on the lookout for a shooter or shooters. We don't know if that is just one person or multiple. And so I talked to multiple people out here just now. One woman who said she was a caretaker for somebody who actually was shot, one of those victims. We talked to her. We'll be bringing you guys that interview in a couple minutes. But from what I can tell, this is just absolute mayhem. You have all these different agencies here right now. I'll let Darren zoom in for us. I saw FBI.
Louisiana, guys, Baton Rouge.
Long guns everywhere. This is an all-agency effort right now. You can see there's drones, there are helicopters. Every agency is here right now. From what we can tell, the victims have all been transported. The situation is secure. But they're still on the lookout for at least one shooter. And we'll bring you updates as we go.
What's up, everybody? Louisiana, Baton Rouge, 2 in critical condition. They're saying 6 victims at this mall, food court shooting.
From the Mall of Louisiana, reporting on this mass
Somebody
shooting
stepped on
there.
somebody's shoe.
Hearing that there are 6 victims right now in the hospital, 2 in critical condition following this shooting. It looks as though these are, shoppers, pedestrians that were just at the mall at the time, that are being escorted out safely. Employees are being, escorted out of the mall. You see she has that clear bag there. That's probably a sign that she was working there at the mall, because people who work there are usually required to have a clear bag. So you see all of these people who were just, it was a regular day at the mall until, all of this started happening. Liam Combs, I think we have him again, and we will go back to him at the mall. Liam, can you hear me?
Yeah. So you didn't see anything, but did you see?
Liam, you are on air. Can you tell us what you see?
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary situation. Obviously, this looks insane over here.
Kind of cutting in and out a bit.
Liam is still trying to get in place, because he just mentioned that he did an interview with someone who was a caretaker of someone who may have been shot, I believe is what he said. So we're waiting to hear a little more about that, and he can tell us the words from what they are saying. You can see right here, those are people with the Louisiana State Police, on the scene now, part of this, so that adds another member of law enforcement on the scene. So we talked about BRPD being there, the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office, and now you can see Louisiana State Police on the scene of this shooting at the mall.
Yeah, Liam had described this as an all-agency response to this. So you are seeing people from the state police, from the Baton Rouge Police Department, from the Sheriff's Office. Of course, you're also seeing the helicopters in the air. We could barely hear Liam just a couple of minutes ago from all of the choppers, from the chopper flying above where he was. We know that a lot of the people who were injured were taken by ambulance to the hospital. Liam has a little bit more detail.
From what we can tell right now, again, the situation, the mall is secure right now. There are 6 victims that have been transported to the hospital.
Over what?
BRPD can tell us. Again, we've been seeing just an all-agency effort here. I did talk to a woman who's actually an employee at the mall, and she said she didn't see the shooting happen, but when it did, the protocols that they knew as far as getting people out and getting themselves out was followed by a T, and so she said she did feel safe now that the situation is secure. But again, 6 victims with gunshot wounds have been transported to the hospital.
thus far, and the choppers are still in the air, the drones are still flying.
Thank you, Musta.
And it just seems like absolute mayhem right
you,
now. But again, as soon as we learn more, I've been trying to talk to people as they come out of the mall, and we'll bring you all that later. But we're still, of course, trying to learn more. This is a very active and developing situation, so just stay tuned with us, and we'll bring you updates.
Liam Combs live for us at the Mall of Louisiana following this mass shooting. As you just heard, Liam Combs mentioned that there are 6 victims with gunshot wounds. They were taken to the hospital and by ambulance with police escorts there on the scene. It's a multi-agency response to all of this. You can see a number of police units out there right now.
And so we tried earlier to talk to Rick Poche, who is one of our photojournalists. He is out there. We've got him back on the phone again. Rick, tell us where you are in position of the mall and what you are seeing.
Okay, Dion, I am on the back side of the mall, kind of between the Dillards and the JCPenney rear entrance. I have seen 4 ambulances leave out of here, lights and sirens with police escorts evacuating people. I see 3 more ambulances out near the entrance, and I've started to see some customers where it looks like exiting the mall. So it seems that they're now starting to allow people to leave a little bit. There is a heavy police presence. I've never seen this many police officers in one place in my 36 years in the news business. This place is locked down tight. There's 1 or 2 helicopters in the air searching the area. I'm not exactly sure what you guys are hearing is going on inside, but from where I see, the police between East Baton Rouge and the Sheriff's Department, State Police, have all kind of blanketed the area.
Yeah, we just moments ago saw members of state police on the scene as well.
That fight only
actually
happened
you
in
saw
Lewiston
some
because
people
Sonny
just
Liston
coming
was
out of
managed
the
by the
mall,
mob, and
possibly
people were scared to have it in
patrons
Boston
or
because Muhammad Ali was
people who may
part
have
of
worked in the mall. Can you kind of describe how they were, if you were able to notice anything, how their demeanor was?
They walked out fairly calm. I did see a mom walking out with what looked like maybe a 4-year-old child. The 4-year-old child was crying. They were off in the
But you
distance.
look at the amount of NHL hockey players that have played in that building, either when they were, youth or in developmental leagues and stuff like that. That building has a strong history for entertainment. NHL hockey players, Muhammad Ali. I mean, it's an institution in the city. And when you drive anywhere, that was kind of the area we were
in little batches, so that
we were looking for that possible shooter last week. You drive anywhere around that area,
5 or 6
there's garbage everywhere, there's needles, there's bad roads, there's houses with holes in them. I mean, it's just seems white. Like, who the hell wants to spend, a Friday night, going into that neighborhood? Look, if nothing even happened, just the sight of the area around there is blighted. It's filthy, dirty. There's garbage everywhere. I mean, it's just terrible. You want to take the wipe out for a night there?
This is in the back area where you would go in from the food court. So as soon as you go in through those doors, you're looking at there, you get on the escalator and you've got the